All right, if you purchased our drop bar prop with one of our Callus Force entry doors, what you'll notice when you receive it is you'll see two plates on the outside of the door, on the outward opening aspect of it, that look just like this. You'll see two carriage bolts holding each of these plates in place. This is our drop bar prop. This is the working side of it. These plates are consumables, and you should have received probably 20 or more of these with your door. If you didn't, reach out to us. We want to make sure you get them. These plates are made of 16 gauge or 18 gauge steel, which is typically what you would find in a typical steel door, steel commercial door. On the inside, you'll see you have these two large brackets, and connected to those are two what we call an L bracket. When you're not using this prop or you're forcing inward opening, we recommend you pull the collar pin and the clevis and take the L brackets out so they're not sticking out while you're working on them. Obviously, just to insert it back in place, put the pin back in, and clip it. Now, to load your drop bar prop, all you simply need is a piece of 2x4. Now you'll find, and we've seen this in training, some guys can actually pull right through a 2x4. It's not something that's beyond their capabilities. And yeah, there's big, strong people out there. There's also really good leveraging techniques that give us the ability to actually break 2x4s. So you can use a 2x4, a 2x6 will work also, or you can use a steel 2x4. Any of those will work, and they'll fall across your prop when it's in place. All right, so here we are in the inside of the box, and here's our door. So we'll go ahead and pin the door like normal, right? So we'll use a dowel, we'll use a 2x2, and once the door is closed, now we have our L brackets sitting out. Now all we have to do is take our 2x4 here, and we're just gonna slide this between the jamb and the mounts and slide it down into place. All right, so now we're gonna go through the sequence of how to pull an outward opening door with a supposed drop bar in it. So anytime I approach a commercial door, I'm looking for carriage bolts. Now I know there's a lot of bolts on our forcible entry door. That's okay, but what you're looking for is an outward carriage bolt, right? That's gonna tell us that there's a drop bar in place. So as soon as I see that, in my head I know, okay, I may not be able to pull this door open, but I'm always gonna start conventionally trying to pull the door with the hope that maybe they put this in and nobody put in the drop bar that night. So we're gonna start with conventional forcible entry. So Josh is gonna come up, he's gonna basically create a crush point, right? So he basically does some crushing on the door like we would ask you to do, and then he's gonna put the axe in the crack, and that's gonna help open up some gap. And then he's gonna just kind of step away so I can drive this in place, okay? Once I've driven the axe in place, that's created the gap. Now that allows me to get my tool in place. So I'll set my tool over and I'll start crushing the edge of the door. And this is where Josh can take the axe back out, and I'm crushing the edge of the door, right? Trying to create that crush, right? Like we've talked about in other videos where we want to crush the edge. Now we know because this is a prop that all it's gonna do is make the jamb move back and forth, but I still want you to do the mechanics of it because I think it's important so when you go to an event, you don't forget. So now once I've done that, I'm now gonna pull and try and get around my stop, right? And now I'm gonna tell Josh is gonna step up and I'm gonna tell him hit, drive. Good. So now Josh has driven this all the way into the stop and I'm gonna give it a pull, right? And what's happening? Well, we can see two things are happening right now. One, this isn't braking, and two, something's not going on. Something's not happening. So that's telling me I do have my drop bar in place, okay? So I'm gonna have Josh take his axe and drop it back in between those two pieces. And I'm just gonna sneak my tool out, okay? And then we're gonna pull this axe back out because at this point we know that door has got a drop bar in it. Now, at this point, I'm gonna attack the knob side of the drop bar every time first. And the reason I wanna do that is because I want this side to release so that the bar then falls down and hopefully clears this edge and allows me to go through the door. All right? So first thing we'll do is so I'm gonna do 2 demonstrations here. I'm gonna do one with a saw, and I'm gonna do one with an axe and a Halligan. The first one I'll do is with the axe and a Halligan. So I set my spike. Now a lot of guys will tell you, set it right on top of the head here. And I'll tell you, after doing a lot of training with this, I have rarely seen it stay in place. So I typically will go just above it or to one side. And once I have that, Josh is gonna step up and he's gonna hit when I say hit. Hit, hit, hit. Now you can see that just those 3 hits, and this is 18 gauge steel, it's not thin. It's already made a nice big dent, so I'm gonna do a little bit of work on that. I'm gonna open this up a little bit more if I can. Just try and create some more gap in there. And then I'm gonna just go ahead and set it underneath there. And I'm gonna have Josh hit one more time for me. Hit, hit. Okay, now we can already see that the carriage bolt is coming out of place, right? So at this point, I may be able to set my tool across this and have Josh go ahead and hit. So Josh, hit. Okay, so that carriage bolt is pretty much out of play now. So remember this is a prop. So we've only gone through one side of the steel, okay? On a real door, you're gonna have to drive that all the way through the other side to release it. It's not gonna release just with one side. So it's a little bit more work on a real door, and I don't wanna like mislead anybody here. So now I'm gonna go ahead and go through the process with a saw of going ahead and cutting off my carriage bolt. I'm gonna go at this, since I'm right-handed, I'm gonna go at this from the right side, and I'm gonna actually put the blade right behind, right to the side of this carriage bolt. So my blade's gonna go right here. That's what I'm aiming for. Because I'm not aiming for this head. I'm not aiming to take the head off the bolt. I'm aiming to cut the bolt behind the head. And that'll allow it to come out easier. If I just shave the head off the bolt, then that whole head is still there. I still have to drive that all the way through the entire door. So make sure when you set your tool in place that you're getting behind that and you're getting to the actual bolt part, not the head. So you can see by my cut pattern, and this is kind of a nice way to look at it because we knocked the first one out. You can see by my cut pattern, I cut right behind that. So from the front, remember I told you I wanted to go right next to it? I did. And I cut right through that bolt. Now remember, now that we've cut this bolt and we pounded this bolt through, that drop bar is not gonna fall off because you still have to push that all the way through the door, okay? So the evolution may look like, hey, I just cut it and that's all that happens. Sometimes when you start pulling it, it'll pull those out. It'll pull through it. But sometimes you have to drive them out. So we're gonna do a little bit of driving this thing through, just to get it out of place. Give me a bang. All right, now we can actually hear that all fall, so that's a good sign. So now I'm going right back to my conventional, getting my tool in place. Josh is gonna come up and he's gonna drive that in there. All right, and he's gonna step out, I'm gonna rip my door. And look at that. Opens right up. And there's our drop bar. So the nice thing is, here's the plate system we used. And I did cut that bolt, so that bolt I won't be able to reuse, but your other bolt, the one that we used through the plate that we just drove through, you can just reuse that bolt. So it's still in good shape. The one you cut, throw those away. So go out and breach some doors.